Hello, everyone. My name is Gary, and for Module 19, it said, give an example, not discussed in the videos or reading, of when you treated technology like a real person and or mediated a place like a real place. And for those of you who do not see here, I actually built a computer, so my example is going to have to be on my computer. And for me, I kind of have two different examples that kind of relate to this this chapter. And the first one was when I was actually building it. I spent a lot of time, money, and just energy into kind of investing a lot into this computer. And at first, I was kind of stuck along that line of like just treating it like it's just some piece of technology. But as I began to study it more, as I began to kind of invest a lot of time, it was kind of relating into that general structure of the paradigm where we were replacing that human to human computer, you know. Because at first I was just viewing it as human to computer, you know, like this is just some piece of technology. But as I began to kind of invest a lot more time into it, then I began to see it as more of a human, you know, because I would take apart these pieces and like, oh, this is like its brain. Oh, this is like its stomach. This is like I was breaking it down into smaller pieces to then create it more as like a human, like a friend to me, and I always thought that was so weird and bizarre for me to kind of think like that. It allowed for me to like kind of make it a lot more easier as far as building it, but it also made it for me a lot more kind of connected with the technology, you know. It made me a lot more comforting, you know. And so for my second example, after I booted the computer up and everything like that, I had it connected to speakers. And when it's connected to speakers and you first boot it up, then all the softwaring setup kind of begins. And it started just speaking out the instructions instead of having me read them. But the voice came across as more masculine than feminine. So then that allowed for me to kind of connect to it a little bit more because I was already so connected into it. I was seeing this as a more of a human to human interaction than I was anything else. So then I started to kind of just get lost in it and was treating it as I would one of my other male friends, and I found myself using some of the slangs like, oh, come on, dude, and oh my God, like, let's go, and stuff like that, like thinking as it was a more human to human interaction than anything else, you know. And that kind of ties right into that media equation of media equals real life, you know, because our brains have not evolved to the point of seeing something on a screen and not being able for our brain to not tell if it's on a screen or if we're seeing that in real life. And that was kind of something that I found myself to kind of figure out a little bit more as I dove into this chapter in the sense of understanding the like reasonings of how my cognitive process was going about when building this computer, because I found myself kind of getting a little like weirded out of how connected I was to this computer, because obviously there was a lot of investment with the money and everything else, but there was more so of like I felt like I was having more of a human to human interaction than anything else. You know, I wasn't viewing this as just a technology thing, and I found that to be extremely prevalent when people would like misname various parts in my computer setup when they're like, oh, it's like, how is that not a laptop? You know, I'm like, no, that's a PC. Or like, how is that, like, is that just like a small TV? And I'm like, no, it's a monitor, you know. And I found that was just particularly it came about when kind of diving into this chapter when it talked about the social roles and how we have unique roles for our technology that we have about. And to kind of dive deeper and connect my experience with the class a little bit more is when I was talking about the experiment of reciprocity with machines, right? If the machine helps you, then you would be more invested to helping the machine. And I built several computers throughout my life, and I found that the computers that went a lot more smoother in the sense of the builds, and there was no unforeseen errors or something like that. I found myself kind of investing more time into making sure that that the little details that that weren't particularly required, then I kind of spent more time in helping the computer in the sense of making sure all the cables are connected and making sure all the cables are organized and stuff like that. Then on the other hand, when I found myself having computers that kind of gave me a lot of difficult time, I then found myself kind of stopping the project a lot and not really putting forth the extra to make sure that that computer kind of had everything that it wanted in the sense of that. So hope everything makes sense and I didn't sound too weird, but thank you guys.